Yes, sir. Back at it live and direct, fam. What it do? What it do? All right. A few things I kind of want to yap about today. First, we'll get into the whole cancer culture, left versus right thing going on right now. There's some interesting things that I want to pull out of it and give you kind of my takes on things and what I'm viewing. And we'll close out with some success tips, of course, because you know what I'm saying. I want you guys to win and be winners, right? Because at the end of the day, all this political shit doesn't matter if you're a fucking loser, if you're a fucking bum. You can only affect the world and change the world if you're strong first. So, anyway, without further ado, let me just get right into what I'm feeling right now. Okay, so as you know, Charlie Kirk passed away last week. Rest in peace to him once again. And obviously, this has started a firestorm of within the right wing where niggas are like, oh, nah, man, the left got to pay for this shit, bro. They took a moderate niggas from us. They shot a moderate nigga, bro. They shot a moderate nigga. Like, fuck no, we can't deal with this anymore. This is shitty. Something's got to change. We got to do something about it. And I'm niggas. I was part of them niggas, bro. I these niggas have clearly went too far here. You know, this has crossed like just a disagreement between ideas and has went into the territory of you're not allowed to speak freely or we kill you. You're not allowed to have the wrong opinions. You're not allowed to think the wrong things. But has that always been obvious from the left side anyway? These niggas were already censoring niggas during 2020. They were canceling people during 2020. These people have already been ready to commit heinous acts. Not saying that you getting fired from your job is a heinous act, but the left has already been very, very willing to get rid of people, right? Or censor your voice or make sure you're just not allowed to speak, whether this now has escalated to you literally dying and getting shot in your neck, or back then during 2020 where it was just, okay, you get banned off social media and you get fired for your job. You understand? Like, these people have clearly been escalating in the level of hurting you for having the wrong opinions. So obviously now the right has fired back. And maybe you have seen, maybe you have not seen, but Jimmy Kimmel, who was a talk show host or comedian, I think he came up during, what year was it? 2003. Came up in 2003. He's been a talk show host and comedian for a long time. And Disney actually ended up taking him off air. A lot of Democrats were saying, oh no, this is you getting rid of free speech. What the hell? You're fucking up free speech. When really, this guy's show ratings were so fucking low. And now, because he made comments about Charlie Kirk and who shot him, it led to the right doing what they've been doing, which has been canceling people on the left. We've been canceling people on the left. We've been finding their employers. We've been getting them fired for their jobs for laughing at Charlie Kirk's passing, right? So the left is trying to act like, oh, you guys were talking all this shit about how cancel culture is bad. Now you guys are doing the same thing, but they don't understand that this shit is not the same thing. And this is where I get more to like my take on this whole situation. Like, the thing is, this is not the same thing at all. You guys were more than willing to cancel people on the right for saying the N word 16 years ago. More than willing. You were more than willing to cancel anybody who had an opinion that you didn't like. It was mainly around the N word. Like, if you said the N word in 2020, you were getting cooked. If you had a conservative voice or you spoke about conservative things like women are not equal to men, women are inferior to men, which they fucking are. Women are fucking stupid, but women are inferior to men, for example, you would get banned off a platform. TikTok, for example. Like, you're getting banned off the platform. A prominent one was Fresh and Fit. They got banned off TikTok during 2020. I remember that was a crazy time where if you had any dissenting red pill opinions, this was before like Tate and then blew up. So like if you were having any opinions just off women, you were getting cooked off the internet. You were getting canceled instantly. Understand? Now everybody just says women are stupid and like crazy now, and it's fine. But back then it was crazy during 2020. You know, and a lot of you niggas were there, so you understand what I'm talking about. But that's kind of like the situation we were in, where you were getting cooked. Now the right is doing the same thing to the left, and the left is trying to act like, oh, blah blah blah. What the fuck? Why are you guys doing this? But this, you guys have already sown your bed here. You guys have already, now you guys have to lay in your bed. You guys have started this. Now the right is just defending themselves, and you guys have already escalated to killing people. We're just getting you fired for your job, and that actually brings me to what I wanted to really talk about here. With that, a lot of people are now having this issue where, oh, we're just becoming exactly like the left. Like we're just canceling them for their speech and whatever. And my thing is, everything that is not censoring the left and is not killing people on the left, right, is mutual combat to me. It's all mutual combat now. You know, killing is wrong. I think anybody who wants to incite violence or kill leftists for them doing this is wrong. We should not do that. It's wrong. It's stupid. Right. And I also don't think we should censor them at all. You know, because a lot of people on the right are like, no, we need to remove these people from the internet. I'm like, slow your roll, my nigga. And the reason for this is because you need to actually know what your enemy thinks, even if they're inciting violence. Because I know a lot of people were mad at Hassan for basically some takes he's had about gutting capitalists and shit like that. They're like, oh my God, he needs to get banned. But no. You need to be able to hear your enemies. You need to be able to understand what your enemies think. Think about it. Nobody would really know. Many conservatives would not actually know just how crazy liberals are and leftists are now if they weren't able to post themselves laughing at Charlie Kirk's death. Nobody would really understand how morally corrupt these niggas are and how non-human that these individuals are now. Nobody would know, right? If we were just canceling niggas. It's not good to cancel your enemy. You need to be able to see and understand what your enemy is doing. What hurts more? A punch that you can see coming or a punch you can't see coming, right? Obviously, the punch you can't fucking see. When you start censoring people that you disagree with, they're going to come back with a vengeance and a punch you're not going to be able to see coming. If we censor all the niggas on the left all of a sudden, what's going to happen is niggas are going to start getting murdered out of nowhere. Because you cannot censor dissent because it will find ways to build an army in silence and then destroy you. So I'm completely against censorship. That's just one side of the reason why I'm against it. But another side of this is it goes against the fucking Constitution. I love the Constitution. I love freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is what makes America the greatest country in the world. And for that reason, I don't want us to be out here trying to cancel people for their speech. What happened to Jimmy Kimmel was not us silencing him for his speech. The nigga's show was trash. Nobody watches his left-wing shit anyway. Their shit is all lame. Nobody watches that dumb shit. What the fuck? Nobody cares. So his shit was already trash. It's just right-wingers were contacting the employers of Jimmy Kimmel, right? And they were like, well, his show is trash anyway, so we might as well say fuck off. You got to go, man. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with a right winger contacting somebody's employer and saying, hey, this nigga was laughing about somebody's death. Is this the type of person you want to employ? Because now it's just up to your employer. It's just up to the employer what the employer wants to do. If the employer is like, yeah, I don't fuck with niggas like that and they fire you, I think that's completely okay. If I was an employer, for example, or someone who's going to be an employer in the future, I don't really give a fuck about your political views. If you're doing the work that I want you to do for me and you're doing it very well, and you have differing political views from me, that's fine. You're in a free country. We're in a free country. Niggas are allowed to disagree with you. I have no problem with niggas disagreeing. But if someone then comes to me and says, hey, they were laughing about somebody's death or whatever, and I don't want that type of person with that sense of morality a part of my business, yes, I'm going to fire them. But if somebody tries to come to me and said, hey, this man said the N-word, he said nigger on the internet, I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out of here. I don't care if this nigga said the N-word. He's doing the work that he needs to do for me. I don't give a shit about the N-word, so I'm not going to fire him. So it's like the left is trying to make it seem as if this is going against freedom of speech by their employers getting contacted and the niggas getting fired, when no, it's not. It's just like me as a right winger, using my freedom of speech to say, hey, you have this nigga who laughs at the death of other people. Is this the type of person you want to employ? If the employer is like, I don't give a fuck, then that's it. They don't lose their job. I see this as mutual combat. The left was doing the same thing for a decade and a half. And while right wingers were mad, they were like, it is what it is. You got fired. And we moved on with our lives because they weren't going against the Constitution. They were not doing anything unconstitutional, right? What they were starting to do unconstitutional shit when they were in power during the last decade and a half, when they were banning niggas off platforms like Trump, for example. That shit was gay. That shit was wrong. That's what I had a problem with. That's censorship. That's wrong. That goes against the Constitution. It fucks up freedom of speech. Your employer getting contacted and you getting fired from your job has nothing to do with freedom of speech, nigga. Your employer doesn't fuck with you that much. If you are getting employed by someone and you guys don't share the same values, of course this nigga's gonna fire you. The fuck? Of course this nigga's gonna fire you. That only makes sense. So let's not, like, the left is trying to act like this is a both. This is, oh no, freedom of speech, nigga. Nobody's doing anything to your speech. And for my young conservatives watching this, I have no problem with you niggas contacting people's employers and getting them fired for laughing at a nigga's death. That's wrong. That's morally corrupt. That's morally corrupt. I think you're completely well within your rights to contact somebody's employer and say, this nigga be laughing at niggas dying. This the type of nigga you want your business? That's fine. But what I do disagree with, and I do think is wrong, is if you're carrying out violence against leftists or you're trying to get them censored, meaning you're actively saying, hey, this individual should get banned off this platform. Big no. Do not do that shit. We need everybody to be able to say what they want. Freedom of speech allows everybody to show who they truly are. It allows everybody to have their ideas. It's what allows us to have a democracy. We need everybody to be able to say what they want. When we start censoring niggas, we become like a fucking horrible country. And I don't want that shit. I want all of us to be able to say whatever we want, even if we're saying deplorable things. Even if these leftists are inciting violence on their streams. Good. We know that these niggas are crazy. Hey, FBI, look at this nigga. That's all it takes. If niggas want to use their platforms to incite violence, fine. Tell the FBI, what the fuck, Cash Patel. Hey man, this nigga going crazy. Fine. I think that's fine. But once we start censoring these niggas, they're gonna go start cultivating power in another place that we can't see or we can't hear, and then boom, a slew of niggas die. Because these niggas are already mentally deranged. What do you think is gonna happen next when you censor these niggas? These niggas already lack morality, bro. We need to be able to hear them. We need to be able to see what they're saying and be able to openly disagree with them in public debate. These niggas need to be seen. So that's the moral of the story there. That's my whole opinion on this whole cancel culture thing going on right now. I think if you're contacting people's employer, that's mutual combat to me. The left did the exact same thing. This isn't going against freedom of speech. You're not inciting violence against anybody. I think that's completely okay. Because it's just your employer has to decide if they want to fire you or not. It's not like it's a set in stone thing anyway. So not a big deal. It only starts crossing a line when the left tries to censor the right or the right tries to censor the left. That's when I'm like, niggas, we got to chill. Because this is where we're going to fuck up, where it's going to become violent now. Because if people can't say what they want to say, that's when violence starts, which the late Charlie Kirk said. And he was very intelligent for saying that, because that's true. When people can't say what they want to say, that's when the real violence starts. And we're trying to avoid that shit. So no, nigga, let everybody say whatever the fuck they want to say, even if they're inciting violence. We just let the FBI know this nigga wildin', but you have the conversation with them and you're able to hear them and you understand what's coming. I'm telling you, nobody would be able to understand how deplorable and how immoral the left currently is if they didn't have freedom of speech, if they were not able to express themselves and say, or be able to laugh at Charlie Kirk. That, like, we wouldn't be able to fix shit. So that's kind of where we at. Otherwise, fuck the left, fuck them niggas, crazy ass niggas, dumb ass niggas, bot ass niggas, thin neck ass niggas, ugly ass niggas, fuck ass niggas, dumb ass niggas, derp ass niggas, all types of niggas, fuck them. Right, otherwise, but because those niggas are deplorable individuals, they are actually crazy, they are evil, but I want them to be able to say what they want to say, and I do not want to kill them because that goes against morality, especially if you're a conservative Christian. You definitely shouldn't be fucking with some shit like that either. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that. That's how I'm kind of seeing that situation. It'll be interesting how we're going to see things evolve as time passes with this whole cancel culture thing. Maybe the left is going to come up with a new mode of attack in terms of attacking the right, but it's where we're at. I think it's a full-scale culture war at this point. It's a really full scale at this point. But it needs to be this way at this point because they have crossed the line. So it's mutual combat at this point. But don't censor anyone. Don't kill anyone. That's the rule. That's the standard for me on this side. And that's what I advise you guys to understand and make sure you guys are moving the right way. So, yeah. Okay. So that's the main thing I wanted to talk about there. Now I want to talk a little bit about achieving your goals, becoming successful. Because like I said earlier, it doesn't matter what's going on in politics if you're a weak-ass man. You cannot save the world. You cannot fix the country if you're a weak-ass bitch. So for that reason, you need to understand how to achieve your goals. So A thing that I wanted to talk about was the idea of course correcting. It is ridiculously important that you are able to just course correct, because something that I have personally struggled with in the past, because I'm a very intelligent guy. I'm a smart ass nigga, y'all. I'm a smart ass nigga. That's why you guys listen to me. That's why you guys are watching me. I'm a smart ass nigga. So the downfall with being an intelligent individual is that you tend to start trying to make perfect moves when it comes to you achieving your goals or becoming successful. You're like, oh, there's the downside here. So is there a better move? Is there a better move? Like, you constantly think, is there a better move that I can make instead of making this move that feels kind of risky? But the problem with that is you end up never moving. And that's an issue, because if you want to get somewhere, you have to move. You have to eventually take a risk. So you have to get very comfortable with being willing to course correct, meaning you have to get a lot more comfortable with looking stupid, looking dumb, making the mistake, embarrassing yourself in front of 1,000 people. Because if you're willing to embarrass yourself in front of 1,000 people, you can succeed in front of millions, right? Because it's by taking risks that you gain brand new opportunities, that you gain things, right? But the thing is, if you're in this position where you're trying to make your moves way too perfect, if you're trying to perfectly plan out your success, you end up never fucking getting there, right? You must act with speed. You must be able to act with speed. And with that speed, you just have to learn to do what now? Course correct. And what I mean by course correct is, when you make a mistake, you have to be willing to learn from that mistake as soon as possible to make a better move. And then when you make the next move and you make a mistake, you got to course correct again and course correct again, right? That's how improvement actually works. It's all about course correcting. So instead of being in your fucking head all day overthinking and being like, nah, I got to move this way, but what if this happens? What if that happens? It's like, you don't have time to think like that. If the thing happens, okay, fix the problem and then move forward. If this bad thing happens, okay, fix the problem and then move forward. If this bad thing happens, okay, fix the problem and move forward. And that's how you move towards your success as fast as possible, because eventually you make all the mistakes. Improvement, development, and gaining skills and capabilities just means you make all the mistakes. So now all that's left is for you to make the right moves. But you only learn what the right moves are by making the mistakes or learning from the mistakes of others, which you guys 100% should be doing. And a way that you can do that is by listening to the guys who've already achieved the level of success you want to achieve, because you can learn from their mistakes. And even if you're making your own mistakes, you're already way ahead of the curve because you're learning from someone who's already won. So you can reach their level faster than they did because they didn't have themselves to learn from, understand? So you have to get very comfortable with just course correcting. Do not try to make perfect choices. Do not try to make perfect decisions, because you'll never make a perfect choice. You'll never be able to make perfect decisions. Every decision has risks to it, because there's things that are outside of your control in this life. As long as there's things that are outside of your control, there's risk to every single decision that you make. So you have to get very comfortable with taking risks and being willing to adapt to whatever the outcome is. You have to be like, okay, I want to make this move. There's that risk here. I could lose money here. I could lose some reputation here. I can embarrass myself here, right? But if things go right, then I gain all this stuff over here. So you have to be in this position where if I do end up embarrassing myself, if I do end up making this mistake, if I do end up losing this money, I'll be like, well, okay, I learned, adapt, move forward. But you cannot stay in your head. Do not stay in your head. Do not sit here and try to overthink and try to make perfect decisions. You only overthink because you're trying to make perfect choices. And you'll stop overthinking when you stop trying to make perfect choices and you just move, just go, just move, go. You fuck up, learn, move. You fuck up, learn, move, go, 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 go. And that's how you get to your success as fast as possible. You make all the mistakes. All that's left is to make the right moves that you need to make to eventually achieve your goals. So yeah, that's just been something that's so massive for me in my life. Like I said, like when you're smart and aware and you think about things, it's harder for you because you're like, you can see risk. Because this is why you'll see a lot of retards who are very successful. A lot of dumbass niggas. There's so many smart guys out there. You're more than likely one of them if you're watching me, who's seeing other guys that are more successful than you. You're like, this nigga's a flaming retard. Dumbass nigga. Ass nigga is more successful than you. You're like, what the fuck's going on? How is he a winner? Well, it's because he's not assessing risk as much as you are. He's just going. I want thing, and starts moving and doesn't give a fuck about getting embarrassed. He doesn't care about the risk. He doesn't care about the downside. He just goes. And because he just goes, he eventually wins. because he's not concerned or considering other things. When you're intelligent, naturally, you're concerned about other things. You're aware of other things. You're assessing other things. You're assessing risk. You're not just doing whatever you feel like doing. You have impulse control. You're not just going to make a move just because you feel like it. You're like, okay, I got to understand what's going on before I make this decision. But stupid niggas, retarded niggas are not like that. They just fucking move. They don't give a fuck. And in some ways, you have to gain that trait for yourself. You got to become a little bit retarded. I know that sounds crazy, but you actually need to be a little bit more stupid. Like, you need to be a little bit more stupid. You need to make the awkward move every now and then. You need to make the weird ass risk every single now and then. This doesn't mean you can't think. I'm just saying you have to be willing to make the awkward decision every now and then and be willing to adapt to whatever happens. If it goes wrong, fine. You just adapt and move. Hence the whole course correcting thing I just went over for the past several minutes now. Like, you just have to be willing to course correct, but understand that if you're not constantly willing to take risks, you're not going to succeed as much as somebody who's a retard who is constantly willing to take risks and doesn't give a fuck about anything, isn't aware. This doesn't mean that retards don't fail all the fucking time. Of course they do, but they're willing to just go until they win and not think about risk at all, you know? So I just don't want you guys to be intelligent and not as successful as these other guys that are retards, because when retards are in power, retarded shit happens for everybody else. You know, I want smart people in power, and the only way you can be in power and be smart at the same time is if you're willing to take risk. Understand? So that's that there. You know, that's a big thing that I've really started to instill in my mind more and more and more as I've grown older and older. I'm like, okay, look, I want to become extremely successful. Of course, why else would I be talking to you guys unless I want to become extremely successful too? The fuck? So I have to remind myself that, hey, if things look stupid, if things look dumb, if things look retarded, it's fine. I'm just course correcting. I have to be willing to look stupid. And that actually brings me directly into the next thing I wanted to talk about here was, if you want to become anyone, you have to disappoint someone, right? So speaking about embarrassing yourself in front of other people, risking your reputation and shit like that, the only way you can gain something is if, especially as a person or becoming very capable and important to the world, is if you're willing to look bad in somebody's eyes. Usually when you're a younger guy, this just starts with your parents, for example, right? Your parents, you've been around for most of your kid, young adolescent life, right? And for that reason, like, you're used to having expectations from them on you. You're used to like considering their expectations on you when you do things. And the thing is, though, as you grow older, especially as a man, you're figuring out who you are and what you want out of this life. You're figuring out your purpose and what your goals are. And the thing is, more than likely, your goals do not align with your parents' goals for you. So this creates a conflict, right? Because your parents want you to do a particular thing, but you want to do this other thing. So if you try to do what they tell you to do, you're not going to get the thing that you want. But if you go for the thing that you want, they're not going to get what they want. So what does this mean? If you want to become successful, you have to disappoint your parents. You literally have to. There is no choice. I'm using parents as an example here, but this could be literally anyone, society, who the fuck ever. In order to get something you want, you have to disappoint someone, because this other someone wants you to act a certain way or do a certain thing or have a particular goal that fits into their life, because human beings were inherently selfish like that. We want people to do what we want them to do, right? Not realizing, or some of us realize we just don't give a fuck, that they're their own independent person who wants their own personal things that we might not know or understand or be aware of. So you need to be in this position where you get very comfortable with disappointing people. You have to get in this position where you get really comfortable with saying, no, I'm doing this. No, I'm doing this. This is just important for your independence as a man too, as well. You have to be able to say fuck no to somebody, right? Masculinity in its simplest form is just independence. The ability to say what you want, think what you want, do what you want. Masculinity. That's why we have countries, guys. Everybody has this right to self-determination, right? That's also what the U.S. is built on. That's why we got the best country in the world, because you have the right to self-determination and figure out what you want to be and what you want to do, right? So you have to disappoint somebody to do that. So whoever's expectations are currently in your mind, you have to crush them, because the only expectations that should matter to you are your own, for your own life, because it's your life. You have full ownership over yourself and your thoughts and how you want to move. So you have to systematically remove any expectations that are in your mind right now. Because if you don't, you're going to end up disappointing yourself to live for somebody else. Gay as fuck. Faggotry. That's not how we move over here at the fam, bro. We win big in ways that we want to win. Understand? So you have to be in a position where any expectation, whether your parents, some random nigga, some nigga from your high school, some dumb bitch, whoever it is, you have to be like, fuck no, I'm doing what I want to do. And naturally, you get better at not giving a fuck by practicing not giving a fuck. So you should be going in and out of your way to disappoint someone. You need to disappoint a nigga tomorrow. You need to disappoint your parents tomorrow. You need to disappoint niggas as much as possible. Because once you get very good at disappointing niggas, now you ensure that you're going to live your life on your terms and achieve goals on your terms and nobody else's terms. You know, I talked about a little bit yesterday in yesterday's stream about preventing yourself from making bad decisions or making mistakes because of rushing. And rushing usually is caused by what? The expectations of others and the pressures we have outside of ourselves. So if you are like, I don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks, what happens? You rush less, meaning you make better decisions. And also, of course, like I've been saying now, you ensure that you achieve your goals on your terms, right? Yeah. So that's how I want you guys to move from now on. I want you guys to make sure that you are more than willing to disappoint people. Because when you have that willingness to disappoint people, you ensure that you're actually going to be able to live your life on your terms, reach the peak of your power, and reach the peak of your masculinity. Because what it means to be masculine and what masculinity means in its purest form is independence. And you gain your independence by disappointing motherfuckers. So yeah, those are the two things, at least from a success standpoint, that I kind of wanted to talk about there. You know, I want you niggas to be willing to disappoint niggas. I want you guys to be a little bit more retarded. Like, I actually want you niggas, you know, I want you guys to be smart, but also dumb at the same time. I want you to be the smartest dumb nigga, which really just means I want you to be a smart nigga who's willing to take a lot of risks, right? And just course correct. Course correcting is what leads to massive success in life. You have to just be willing to fuck up, do something real stupid, pick yourself right back up and make the next move. And then do it again over and over again. And then boom, you have all the success that you want. You have the fast cars, you have the bad bitches, you have the mansion, you have the status, you have the skills, the capabilities, you have all the shit that any man could ever fucking want, right? Yeah. And also, from a political standpoint here, for my young conservative guys, make sure when you look at the current situation from a bird's eye view, you just don't want to censor anyone and you don't want to hurt anyone, right? Do not be calling for niggas to not be able to say whatever they want on whatever platform. Nigga, no. That goes against the Constitution. I ain't fucking with that shit. And you shouldn't be fucking with that shit either. You want freedom, right? And I think everybody should have the freedom to contact each other's employers and get them fired if you believe that their employer would not agree with their movements on social media. I think that's fucking fine. I have no problem with that. But the whole, oh, you should be silenced because I disagree with you, that's gay. We don't, big no-no. And obviously killing, that's a given. We should not be hurting anybody for their speech. Stupid. We don't want to become like some lawless gay ass place. Like we're in the fucking middle of Sudan or some shit. Or Ethiopia. Or just some gay country. Probably African. But yeah. Like, we don't want to become like that. We're the United States of fucking America. Love this country. So yeah, man. Nice little yap session. We'll be back tomorrow. I enjoy the yap sessions. I'll be honest. I really enjoy these quick yap sessions. I think they're great. I want to be able to stream longer into the future, which I eventually will be able to at some point as the fam continues to grow, get some bread in this motherfucker, get some more of my time back. I'll be able to stream longer and longer and longer. And I think it'll just be great because, you know, your boy is very good at spitting for you niggas. So, yeah. So with that being said, I'll catch you boys. I'll catch the fam tomorrow. Oh, I also have the podcast tomorrow. So I got the podcast on Friday and Saturday for you niggas. So definitely check that shit out. We're going to be busting out the table out there. It's not obviously mostly political out there when it comes to the fam. I kind of want to just ask more questions in regards to like career and shit like that because I want you guys to become successful. And I actually want you guys as conservatives to infiltrate all the institutions and everything because the reason why liberalism for the most part has been able to have such a monopoly on everybody's fucking minds is because they're in all the institutions everywhere. There's not enough conservatives in these institutions, which is causing a lot of fucking problems. Understand? This is why a nigga who can grow up in a whole conservative household in the form of Tyler Robinson could then go to a university and all of a sudden he's smashing T's. And you guys know what I mean by T's. Understand? So if there was conservatives in that institution, if it was a conservative run institution, that would never fucking happen. Understand? So I mainly talk about careers and shit like that because I want you guys to infiltrate all these areas as conservatives and change the game and not let leftist and liberal ideology poison the minds of all the niggas that come through these corporations and institutions. That's dumb. That's bad. So yeah, we're gonna hit the block tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. Cook for you niggas, and yeah, so you check that shit out. I'll post that shit on YouTube. So that being said, love you, fam. Peace out.